Well, joining me now to discuss is Frederick, the Heritage Foundation Tech Fellow and former Facebook Intel analyst, and Matt Schlapp, American Conservative Union Chairman. Thanks to both of you for being here. Kara, I want to start with you. I want you to react to what we just heard on Facebook. I don't get it. I just don't get it unless there's an ideological axe to grind. Explain this to me.
Well, Brian, I think at this point it's fairly obvious that the cure for so-called misinformation and disinformation is worse than the actual disease. As we know, the censors have absolutely beclowned themselves this week, as Jackie talked about the lab leak, the New York Post, Hunter Biden story. You know, when I joined Facebook, I thought these social media companies were at least ostensibly created to democratize ideas, to have this rigorous, marketplace of ideas, this cacophony of discourse and open debate. But it appears that they're not democratizing ideas at all. They are stifling them, and they're doing so with an eagerness that is very, very troubling to me.
I like that word, beclowned. I haven't heard that for a very long time. Nicely done. Matt Schlapp, to you on this, it does feel like, as a consumer, you look at these policies, you don't understand them, you have no power. We saw Florida this week, Governor DeSantis signs a bill that says, hey, if Facebook does this to you, if YouTube does this to you, you can sue, you can go after them. I think you're going to see more states do this. Matt, isn't that just the natural reaction to the hole that Facebook and others have dug themselves into?
Yeah, and there's a big misconception here. They keep talking about these tech oligarchs that somehow, well, they have the right to control their content. All they're doing is saying, oh, you're not allowed to speak on this topic in this dangerous way. But what they're really doing is smearing these individuals themselves. They're saying they're spreading information. They're hurting people's health. They're dangerous voices in our debate. To me, that the only remedy to stopping this is for them to have a legal action to go after these companies. Think about a couple of issues that we were told we weren't allowed to talk about. The fact that Black Lives Matter was burning down our cities. We weren't allowed to say that. We weren't allowed to say there was a bunch of illegal voting in the election process. Now that's like unquestioned with all the mail-in ballots, and they didn't check signatures. And what's the most recent thing? Anybody who questioned anything about Chinese corona, where it started, how it spread, if you questioned anything, they silenced you. What we're beginning to realize is when they silence so many of us, all from the conservative point of view, it's because they're hiding something.
Look, even if you don't have to question, you just have to express an opinion. Jackie mentioned one Georgia mother went viral for her opinions on children wearing masks. Take a listen to what she said.
This is not March 2020 anymore. It's time. Take these masks off of my child. Forcing 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9-year-old little children to cover their noses and their mouths where they breathe for 7 hours a day, every day for the last 9 months for a virus that you know doesn't affect them. That is not in their best interest.
Now, YouTube says, well, the reason that we made one site take this video down is because it's not literally true that the virus doesn't affect children. Kara, that to me sounds like the weakest reach of an explanation I have ever heard from one of these companies. Your reaction?
Brian, the rank hypocrisy is stunning. If you look at what YouTube's left up, Dr. Fauci, March 2020, 60 Minutes interview, he says nobody should be walking around with masks. If COVID misinformation is so harmful, why wouldn't they take that down, especially at the height of the pandemic? It doesn't make any sense. These companies originally said they didn't want to be arbiters of truth. They wanted to be neutral gatekeepers. They didn't want to dictate what people saw. They wanted to supply information as much as possible. I really think they've abrogated those values, and they should be called on it at every turn.